Okay, moving on. Tools of the trade, hardware and software. This is an ever evolving process, I'm sure it is with other disciplines. Artists have software and hardware that they use that is constantly evolving as well. All right. And I'll talk just a little bit about the interfaces that we use, computers and workstations. There's a whole list of software tools. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just kind of a general survey of what, some of the more popular tools that are out there. Okay. And some of them that are absolutely necessary. So, obviously we need to have a computer to do our work. You may have a Mac, you may have a PC. It doesn't matter so long as you can get your work done and get it uploaded into some version control software out there, whatever you're using, and share it with your development team, right? But it's got to end up on a computer at some point. Your work, there's no way around it. And the good thing is about audio, we can really use hardware to our advantage, just going out in the field and recording sound effects or recording dialogue, just about anything. And it doesn't have to be just outdoor field recording. There are portable units as well that do recording. And if you want to have a nice quiet space that's been acoustically treated, so there's not a lot of echo, you could sit down with a portable digital audio recorder and have microphones plugged into it and have characters. Voices, do whatever you like. But it really comes down to 2 or 3 categories here. We have hardware-based systems, which are super powerful. It's dedicated technology, okay, but it's all encapsulated, and it tends to be very expensive. You're paying for the convenience of having everything all kind of in one place. We have kind of home computer or professional computer systems that are very flexible and scalable. You can take hardware out of PC cards in and out, swap new sound cards in, new graphics cards, all that kind of stuff. And probably the same goes with the professional Mac series of computers as well. And then there's laptops and any sort of other portable unit, which is super convenient. But again, there's a cost to that, and the cost is often performance, not the most not the highest performing device, as opposed to, say, like a desktop PC. Okay. The good thing is it is truly possible now to compose music, get all your sound design, dialogue editing, anything you can imagine, and deliver it all into a single portable system like a laptop, like a MacBook or something like that. And you can basically be sitting in your Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, your coffee shop of choice, using the Wi-Fi all the while, just hammering out 1,000 different audio tasks. And it's a great time to be involved in audio, because we've finally gotten to the point where software has evolved enough that we can do all these things in one place, which is super convenient. Okay. It was, some text here. It was, until very recently, better to have kind of like outboard equipment, I call it, or kind of the hardware equivalents of these plugins that we're going to be using later in the course, kind of like effects units, like reverbs and echoes and all sorts of fun things. All right, but we can have the virtual equivalents of those in our laptop and our computer. We have faster CPUs now. We have a lot of computers have dual cores or quad cores or 8 cores. And so we're able to more efficiently and more quickly process signals, audio signals, and have multiple channels going on, and tracks for editing and so forth. Now, there's always a need for expensive hardware. The main reason is it doesn't really go obsolete. If something is a special effects processor for a voice, like creating all kinds of interesting, say something that it's called a harmonizer. It can make like a very high or deep voice or strange creature sounds, whatever you like. It's an expensive processor, many thousands of dollars. And it never goes out of style, unless it goes out of fashion, aesthetically speaking, but it works, and that's it. But with the Mac OS or Windows, you could have some software that you spend hundreds of dollars on or thousands of dollars on, and it's the equivalent of this hardware. It will be cheaper, much cheaper, but if all of a sudden you have to do a Windows upgrade and your computer dies, or the next Windows OS doesn't support this software, it's tanked, and you have to start over and buy it all over again. So there is a convenience here. It's cheaper, but you're at the risk of version control and losing out, some obsolescence in that sense. Okay, but this is expensive. It gets hot. You've got to put it in a physical location that's acoustically treated usually, and it's a huge undertaking. That's why there are very few studios left that have this sort of outboard gear. It'll always be of use because it is very high quality stuff, but we can have the very close equivalent of it for, say, a tenth of the price in our computer system. So what I haven't talked about yet is how we're going to get the audio into our device, into our computer, for example. And we want to do that as cleanly and as efficiently as possible. And that's where an audio interface comes in. Okay, it's going to allow us to have a kind of a clean conduit into the computer. If I just kind of plug in a microphone to my PC with a little, colorful 1/8-inch jack is to put in a microphone or something, it'll be all right. But unless I spent extra money to have a specialized digital audio processor on my motherboard or as a plug-in card, it's probably going to be a little noisy. And by that I mean there'll always be a little bit of background fuzziness, some little technical blurbs or glitches in there. You can't guarantee it's going to be a precise, clean, accurate recording. So an audio interface is kind of the tool that we use. We have a source. We can plug in a guitar, a microphone, or have the source be just about anything, some analog input, and then it's going to eliminate any sort of noise. It's not going to generate new noise, and it's going to bring it into the computer as cleanly and as efficiently as possible. Okay, we can send signals in and out in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of formats. Okay, there's 16-bit audio, 24 and 32-bit audio, different sampling rates that we'll talk about next week, the process of sampling and bit depth and all this. Okay, so the audio interface, it allows us to get our signal into the computer as cleanly and as efficiently as possible. Right, and there's a variety. This is a kind of an older model of M Audio's fast track USB interface. There's so many. There's probably like 30 different USB interfaces out there. You could even have an interface for your iPhone or your Android phone. You can just plug in, and they make all sorts of devices. Just you can ask me anytime if you're curious about wanting to buy your own audio interface. I could help you out with that as well. But anyway, there's a little diagram here. You have a guitar, a microphone, right? You have speakers coming out or headphones, and all the while the interface and the computer are connected. Okay, so control surfaces. Sometimes we don't want to just mix, say we're working in Reaper and we're using a mouse to edit, we're doing all this, and it's fine. But if you start to get into like a 2-hour recording, and you've got video to synchronize to, or maybe you have 30 minutes of different creature animation walk cycles that you have to work on, and it's just becoming unwieldy to use your mouse for everything, you can get a control surface. All right. And this is a really nice control surface. This is a Pro Tools Digital Design, or now Avid C24 system. So this is looks like a 24-channel analog mixing console. That has not changed very much in appearance since like the 70s, where you have these faders for volume control and a bunch of knobs to control other components of the signal, like equalization or EQ, any special effects processing in and out of the board, right? But this is a digital control surface. So what that means is it's interfacing with your computer. In this case, it's working with some Pro Tools hardware. Maybe it's going into your Mac or something, and everything is controlled here. It doesn't even have to be volume. It could be any sort of parameter or control that you have, that you want to have. Like, it could be panning left or right. It could be special effect 14 up and down, and you can mix and match to your heart's content. It's a control surface that can be customizable by you. And here you have a transport control for recording and playback, and a little wheel that we call jogging and shuttling back and forth. The way we used to rock tape on a tape deck back and forth with our hands to kind of slow down or speed up a part to precisely get into a location. Sometimes it's also called a scrub wheel. All right, so there's all sorts of cool functions here, and a lot of these buttons represent commands in Pro Tools to open up windows or to process something. All right, so this is a really stylized control surface here that's also very customizable. Okay, and in fact, it can be automated as well. This is a diagnostic test mode of that same control surface, and you'll see the faders very eerily going up and down. This is called Vegas mode for this particular test, and they're total recall faders. So if you record a part or we're messing around with the faders there, you can have it record your kind of performance as you move your fingers up and down. So you don't have 24 fingers, right? And it may be just you in the control booth, so in your studio. So remember all of your steps and parts, and also includes remembering other turns of knobs and things like that. So that's very handy. It's also very expensive. There are smaller units and more universal kind of hardware units for control surfaces, like 8-channel faders. There's even a 1-channel fader that I think a company called PreSonus puts out called FaderPort or Fader One, and it goes to your budget anywhere from $100, and in this case, that's like many thousands, probably like 10,000 or something. Okay, and I had said it. I had shown this as an example because I used to use one when I was at Tencent in Boston. I set up a studio for them and did some prototyping for the first game, and so I set up a custom desk built and had the console put in, and some Pro Tools hardware here and some other outboard gear. Okay, and everything worked amazingly well. I was relieved, actually, because a lot of things can go wrong, but when you're installing a studio, but it all worked out great.